All right. And look at that. There we are, folks. We are live on another Wednesday evening here in muggy, wet South Florida. Normally they call it the Sunshine State, but it is a little bit wet these past couple days. So we'll let the music play for a little bit. Just wait till we see if we get the messages out to those of you who've hit that bell so you're notified. So we can get some people popping on. And we'll get into today's show. So give it a second here. And we do have a guest with us again, so that's exciting. We have a gentleman all the way from the West Coast, going back to Cali. So, all right, we've got a couple of y'all popping on. Thank you so much for that. So let's kill the music and boom. All right, guys, let me go up to this. Let's go to our comments so I can see when you guys leave a comment. And got the banner. And hey, welcome everyone. I'm Paul Paul, your local realtor guide to South Florida living, and welcome back to another live stream where we talk about what's happening in the real estate world here in Florida and around the world a little bit. And hello, I'm ready. Okay, so are we. Awesome. Well, that's great. Thank you. Hello. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on about the housing market. It's hurricane season. We'll talk a little bit about that here in South Florida. Everyone's got to be prepared for that. And also there's some companies moving to South Florida. I'm a little excited about that. We've got some businesses coming in here, a lot of tech and a lot of money coming in. So money companies. So that's exciting as well. And real quick, we'll just get a couple hellos in here. So Afi, hi, how are you? So welcome back, one of my regulars. Thank you so much for always supporting me. Appreciate you. And we have, See, Guzman, thank you for your information. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate you guys coming on board. So, all right, well, let's get our guest on. I don't want to keep him waiting back there because we jokingly call it the green room, right? But, I don't have any drinks or snacks for him or anything back there, so we're going to bring him on. But this gentleman has a YouTube channel. He also live streams out of California. And let's bring in his, as I love it, says Joe Realtor. So, hey, Joe. How's it going, bud?
Paul.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. And it's always fun when we get to do like a little East Coast, West Coast, and not like,
Absolutely.
East Coast versus West Coast, but it's nice to get, a sampling of information from all over the United States and kind of compare what's going on in your neck of the woods and in mine.
Yeah, I mean, we're both kind of like paradise destinations, right? People go to California for the sun and the waves and the cool breeze and the vibes and all that California has. And Florida, same. People come here for the warm weather. They want to get out of the snow. And, they spent their whole life growing up in places like Jersey and New York and Canada and whatnot. And they see the Sunshine State, although, like I said in the beginning, it's not so much a Sunshine State today. We are in hurricane season, which is really rainy season. Hurricane season starts June 1st and runs to November 30th, but it really doesn't kick up until like midsummer, like maybe July, August. We may see some stuff kick up, but anything could pop up in anyway. But yeah, they come here for all that nice weather. So
when we get the same thing today, let's see, right now I'm looking out the window and boy, if I could turn the camera around, there'd probably be some jealous people because today it is beautifully blue, clear skies. There's not a cloud in the sky. And I think right now the temperature is about 77 degrees.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. That is nice. So same Mr. Guzman says, I think I lucked out in New Jersey. I placed my rental in December and then closed the second week of January. Oh, cool.
Nice.
There you go. Good job. Well, good for you. That's awesome. Thanks. Yeah. So a lot of, and a lot of people like the lifestyles and stuff. So being close to the ocean draws people for many reasons. So sometimes people get out of California and head down here. Matter of fact, some of my clients that I helped moved from, I can't remember what part of California right now, but they moved and they're sailors and boaters and they moved here and they moved up to Jensen Beach, a little town north of us, really cute little town I did a video about. And he's got a power boat and he's got kayaks and he's like, hey, come up, let's go fishing. And he's got a sailboat that he has a small sailboat that fits in the garage. He's got a big 3-car garage, but so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we get those people here, but well, let's so we're going to jump into it, Joe. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the market in the news. I'm sure you've seen it being a realtor that there's a lot of homes for sale.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there's more homes than there are buyers right now.
Yeah, there are. I mean, depending on where you're looking, which is really interesting. And one of the things that I address on my live streams is that we talk about a little bit is how to wade through some of the noise a little bit. And what's interesting is, it's a Redfin story, and Redfin is, their data and their stats are usually pretty good. They put out some really good, interesting stuff. This one, I thought was a little bit interesting. And just, people need to keep in mind that, yes, we're going to hear stuff about like, oh, there's an all-time high of sellers versus buyers. Like that's one that, people like to say a lot, but keep in mind, we're at an all-time high because we were at all-time lows in inventory. So just got to keep the right perspective. And that's not just with this article or just with this headline. That's with all headlines in major news outlets.
News, right? They're making call startling statement for no reason, right? They want to get your attention and
exactly
get reading it and talking about it, like us talking about it.
Exactly.
So, but here in the South Florida market, the inventory definitely is up. I know for condos, this number blew me away. For condos in Dade County, which is Miami, the number of condos is at 14 months of inventory.
Whoa, that's a ton.
And for us in Palm Beach County, I think we're now at 12, a full year's worth of inventory. And Broward was at 13, like a little bit ahead of us. So absolutely insane. And those are the numbers for the area of those three counties. But that's for townhomes and condos. So that's how they classify those. Single family, I didn't have to go back and look at what that is, but I know it's up there. I think it's close to 6 months of inventory now or something like that. So it's definitely up. So it's crazy the number of homes that are sitting. And so, I mean, if the interest rates do drop, man, we're going to have a mad rush of buyers, I think, because they're going to take advantage of low prices, sellers who want to sell their property, hopefully, and incentives and obviously a better interest rate. But we haven't seen that yet. I think we're still sitting at a 7%, 6.8, something like that.
Yeah, last I saw, I think the 6.85 to 7, depending on credit and loan and all loan amount, all that good stuff. So I've just been, not that I quote rates because I'm not a lender, but when people ask me, oh, what's interest rate soon? I say, right around 7%.
I'd leave that to my lender guys as well.
And that's basically a good rule of thumb right now. Just assume 7% and not doing any buyers any favors.
No. Which when you look at the homes that all these homes that are for sale, it's interesting that I bet a lot of those aren't the people with the 2.5%, 3% interest rates, because they're like, why would I sell? So maybe but why don't prices? So a good question, but why don't prices come down? Well, Mr. Guzman, they are coming down a little bit. You're seeing price drops. You're seeing on our end where we look at the multiple listing service here in Florida, we see price drop. So they are, the problem is, I think what Joe said at the beginning, they were so high that the price drop to you, it's like a little ripple, right? It's like nothing. You don't see anything. It's going to take a while for that ripple to expand and become bigger and bigger to really see it. And only time will tell if that's going to take place. There's enough inventory out there to at least make me believe that the price will be forced to come down in order for people to want to sell their properties. But we'll see. And I guess maybe the sellers haven't felt enough of the pain yet. Maybe.
I think you're right, Paul. I think that's a really good observation. I think a lot of the sellers are, and it's not sellers' fault, right? It's funny because sometimes you will hear in news or articles that we go over or we read about real estate, you'll kind of hear things go like, not blaming sellers, but making it seem like, oh gosh, these unrealistic sellers with these pie in the sky prices where they're just like overshooting everything. Well, you have to remember that for the last, from about 2021, heck, mid 2020, really, to about, 2023 and into 24 a little bit, you could almost put whatever price you wanted on real estate and there was going to be interest, right?
Yeah.
And so now sellers they're not, I don't think, unaware of what's going on. I think a lot of people are pretty aware. A lot of agents are pretty aware that the market is starting to shift in some areas, depending on where you are, because again, it's all very localized. And I think, sellers are just going to have to, like you said, feel the pain a little bit more before they realize, hey, wait a minute, It's not 2021 anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not the seller's fault. It's not like the sellers are trying to hoodwink buyers. They're going off of comparable sales data. And if comparable sales data says your home should sell for around X price, then that's what you listed at. But the market changes quickly. And when demand drops, you're going to have to come off that price. So I think you're exactly right, Paul. I think it's just a matter of time before sellers start to realize, hey, wait a minute. I know my neighbor sold their house a year ago for $750, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to get $800 today.
Yeah. Or $750.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get $750.
And
that just takes some time for people to realize.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People don't, I don't think a lot of people realize, you see the comments that, oh, the sellers are this, but the sellers are just following the market. If their neighbor's house sold for X amount, say their house sold for 500,000, but they bought that house years ago for 350. Why in the world would they list their house for 400 when they know they can get 500? And I know a lot of people don't like that, and they think, well, they're being greedy. No, anyone in their right, sensible mind is going to follow the market and do that. No one's going to buy a house and go, well, let's take a loss and just give it away, because they have to go buy something after they sell that house, and they're going to be in the same shoes as the buyer. I know people don't like that, but that's the reality of the real estate world. They bought it, and they did sit in. And if they bought it 20 years ago, and they bought it for 100,000 and they're walking away with 700,000, God bless them. I can't think of a single person I could go up to and ask, if you could buy something now and then this many years later make that much profit, would you do it? And they're going to say, oh no, I would never do that. It's like, okay. Or maybe there's an angel somewhere that would say that, but the most of us, no. The most of us are going to be like, that's money, and I'm making a profit, and I did well. So especially when you get mad at boomers, the ones that are like, oh, the boomers bought it. And it's like, you're right, they did. And you know what? There's nothing we can do about it. You have to deal with the market where it is now. And I know that's not the best answer, but
it's funny because you're exactly right, Paul. Again, you hit the nail on the head, and it's not the fault of someone who worked hard, bought something, and then that asset went up in value, and then they sold it for top dollar. I don't think there's anybody out there that's just going to, kind of like the way that you said it, out of their kindness of their heart, say, you know what? For everyone else, it's 500,000. But for you, because you're a young person, or you're a first-time home buyer, or you just don't have as much money as everybody else, I'll cut it down to 450 just for you. I don't know anybody who's just going to say, I'll just give up 50 grand, which is part of the reason why, and this is a whole other tangent, but this is part of the reason why the whole realtor commission lawsuit did not work in lowering real estate prices. Because that would assume that sellers said, oh, I'm saving money by not paying that agent. Well, then I'm just going to ask for $20,000 less for my house. If I save money, the buyer should save money. No. Hasn't happened, won't happen. It's not going to happen because it doesn't make sense. So a lot of times you have these buyers that go, oh, those greedy sellers, like you said, those greedy boomers. Oh man, those greedy boomers. It's like, but wait a second, those are your parents. So like, how much can you hate them? They're the reason that people like me are here, right? My parents are boomers, right? And you just, like you said, you just have to deal with the market that you're given. Is it fair to millennial and Gen Z home buyers? No, maybe it's not fair to them, but life is not fair, unfortunately.
Yeah. I always said the ones that you'll hear the people that complain about that. I always want to ask one. So when your boomer parent, God forbid, when they pass away, and in the will, they send you that Apple stock that they bought for, I don't know, $100 way back somewhere in 1978 or somewhere, whenever they first sold it. And now that Apple stock's worth God knows how much. And you really don't have to work the rest of your life because now you're a trust fund, baby. You just got a whole bunch of stock from your family. It's like, so same thing, but it's always, it's a story that it goes on day and day, but, yes, he said this isn't what I'm laughing at, but you're right. 6 months been watching Zillow, and yes, prices are coming down, but not as much. It's going to take a little while.
It will. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight.
I agree. Leave us boomers alone.
I know boomers have been getting a bad rap, and this is coming from a mid-aged millennial, right? And so I grew up in the age of the okay boomer. That was my people that solidified and copyrighted that phrase. And I get what they're saying. And the generational battles, I think, are kind of stupid. I don't think they're worth it. And they always happen, right? It's always some generation versus some generation. and it's probably going to, the next one's probably going to be Gen Xers versus Gen Z, right? The old people versus the young. But I just, how can you fault boomers? I mean, you could say, oh, well, a lot of the boomers made policy that is affecting us today. Well, that's what government does. Government's always making policy. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. So it's not just like, oh, the boomers of government did this to us. Like, no, that's not really a fair argument. Did boomers get a more favorable housing market and economy? Yeah, perhaps they did. Yeah, perhaps they did. But again, life's not fair.
Yeah. Well, I know when they say that they always talk about, we had the one comment is that, oh, the interest rate was 13%. Yeah, but the house was $85,000 too.
Correct. So, yeah.
And then the cost of living and then the pay, then the scale of pay versus the cost of living hasn't kept up, and that is a fair complaint.
It is. And I always go back to the boomer thing. I will say when Gen X, millennial, or Gen Z talk about how boomers had their cake and they were able to eat it too. So something that kind of, one of the things that I always sort of want to convey to them is, well, you could have the same thing. Yes, it's difficult, right? But they felt the same pain. Go, and I'll tell my millennial friends this. I was just talking to one a couple of weeks ago. I said, he goes, it's impossible to buy a house. It's so difficult. And I said, listen, I feel you. I sell them. I get it. I understand what your position is. But I want you to go back and I want you to ask your parents who probably bought their home sometime between 1980 and 1990. Most likely if they're a millennial parent, right? Go back and ask them how they felt when they bought their home. Did they think that their home was super expensive? Did they feel like they were stretched super thin on their budget? Did they feel like they were in over their head financially? The answer is probably yes. I know with my parents, both my parents told me, oh my God, when we bought our first house, we couldn't furnish 2 rooms for 3 months. And we ate on the floor because we couldn't afford a dining table. Okay. So, it was difficult for them too at the time. And I'm not saying it's any easier now, but it's just, again, perspective. Boomers didn't just get to stroll through the park and have a house handed to them either.
No, that's true. It's every generation has their challenges stuff. And so there were challenges for our parents back then, and there's challenges for everyone now. And,
Correct.
We just have to figure out what we do. And that's what we try to do. We keep finding ways to hopefully help them find a house and, keep working at it. And, well, if the interest rates get down and hopefully things will change a little bit between that. I know here in Florida, hopefully things will change with the insurance. And as things do change, it's not changing quickly. And that's the problem. And, we live in a society now where everything's instant, right? You make one video and you're instantly famous on TikTok. Like everything's instant. And that is not how the world runs, unfortunately. Some things just take years to get better. And it could take years. We could all be sitting here for a while until we see it get better. And then, and then it goes to another boom. I mean, nobody ever saw 2.3% interest rates or 3% interest rates. That was unheard of. And it was all, it was all to stimulate the economy. So then, we saw the housing market go crazy. But anyway, well, let's get into, I'm going to share. So this is always fun. So I'm going to go hit my settings. So I'm going to be blind. I can't see when I do this. So we're going to get out of hit this, and we're going to share, and we're going to share. And we are going to go here to the article you said. And can you see that?
Yep, we got it.
All right, so here we go. So Redfin U.S. housing market now is 500,000 more home sellers than home buyers. So I want to try to skip down here. It talks a lot of stuff, but if you kind of come down here, it basically just talks about, so during the pandemic housing boom, housing demand surged rapidly amid ultra low interest rates, stimulus, and the remote work boom, which increased demand for space and unlocked WFH arbitrage as high earners were able to keep their income from a job in, say, New York or LA and buy in, say, Austin or Tampa, which is what we saw. We saw places like Austin just absolutely explode.
Yeah,
and even here in Tampa as well. The new construction would have had to increase by roughly 300% to absorb the pandemic era surge in demand. Unlike housing demand, Housing stock supply isn't as elastic. It can't ramp up as quickly. As a result, the heightened pandemic era demand drained the market of active inventory and overwhelmed home prices, with U.S. home prices rising a staggering 43.2% between March 2020 and June 2022.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. And that's where you and I are just saying how it's going to take a while to come down from that.
Correct.
Shot up. The prices shot up 50%.
Right. And this is that one sentence is kind of a great case in point for what I was saying about how this market that nobody created. This is what markets do. They function. Nobody creates them. No, they work on their own, and that's an unfair market. That's unfair, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not fair to home buyers to see. It's not fair to any consumer to see any product jump almost 50% in 2 years. I don't know in a world where that would be very sustainable for very many products.
Yeah. We got a bunch of comments. I'll get to you guys' comments in just a second. So I'm going to go back to the screen where I can read this for you guys. So if you come down here, so of course, a lot has changed since then. Not long after the mortgage rates spiked in 2022, causing affordability to reflect the reality of the sharp home price increases during the pandemic housing boom, and a return to office, which I know a lot of y'all love that, gained a bit of momentum. National demand in the for sale market pulled back, and the pandemic housing boom fizzled out. So the longer we remain in a strained housing demand environment, the more the total number of U.S. active sellers is outmatching the total number of active buyers. So if we take a look at this little analysis they did, published Thursday, April 25th, there were nearly 490,041 more U.S. home sellers than home buyers. That's the most home sellers have outmatched home buyers in over a decade.
Wow.
So, and for comparison, at the height of the pandemic housing boom in April 22, there were 436,106 more U.S. home buyers than home sellers. I mean, what a contrast.
It is a huge contrast in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, just unbelievable. I mean, look at the chart. It just, as you follow that chart, you look at it, it shows the peaks and the valleys up there. Just unbelievable. So the balance of power in the U.S. housing market has shifted towards buyers, which buyers have been waiting for, but a lot of sellers have yet to see or accepted the writing on the wall, which we were just talking about. Many are still holding out hope that their home is the exception and will fetch top dollar. From this Redfin economist Assad Khan on Thursday, but as sellers see their homes sit longer on the market and notice fewer buyers coming through on tour, more of them realize that the market has adjusted and reset their expectations accordingly. According to Redfin, there's a wide variation across the country. That's something that Resi Club agrees strongly with. And most of the softest housing markets where home buyers have the most power are in the Sun Belt, in particular pockets of Texas, Florida, Colorado, and Arizona, while the tightest markets where home sellers still have the most power are in pockets in the Northeast and Midwest, which makes total sense because when I had my guest on last week, Jackie Brown, is exactly, she's got a market up there where they're getting what they want, multiple offers, over asking price, and it makes total sense. But metro housing markets, like if you look at the number of home sellers, look at these numbers in Miami, 21,672 home sellers, 7,280 home buyers.
Wow.
Look at West Palm. West Palm, 18,075, 6,409. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's your recipe for low prices right there, right? It's the inverse of what we saw in 2020, 21, and 2022. In those times, we saw those numbers flipped. Yep. Home buyers were 21,000 and home sellers would have been 7,200.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how you go, well, how did prices go up so quickly? That's how. Again, is it fair to consumers and home buyers that they went up that quickly? I don't know. Probably not. But that's how it happened. When people go, well, how could have this happened? Yeah. And then you think, well, how will prices come back down? Exactly the situation that areas like Florida and Texas are in right now, where there's a lot of people looking to sell and there's just not as many people looking to buy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember looking for condos for people and I couldn't find one, and nothing, and for homes, and it was just insane. And so a couple comments. So hello, I like that name. Hello, boomers are not the dollar's worth a dollar. Gen X, Y, or Z, we all pay the price. Well, I guess so. Yes, boomers are between 61 and 79 years old. Yep. The boomers are aging out there.
My parents.
I started with 12% interest rate back in 1980.
Bingo.
Woo! It was super expensive, 4 jobs to pay.
Right. So that's why when people say, "Oh God, our parents had it easier," or the '80s weren't as bad because homes were cheaper. Yes, they were. But I mean, imagine some young person having the audacity to say that to someone like C. Guzman, who was there, who went through it, and had to work 4 jobs to pay for that 1980 home. Right.
Yeah.
So the fallacy of, oh, it's so much harder now than it was. I don't really buy in. Are there difficulties today? Yes, absolutely. But were there difficulties back in 1980? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, gas prices were high, stuff, everything. It was like crazy. I remember gas lines.
We were constantly concerned about nuclear war all the time.
Yeah.
Which maybe we still are. I don't know.
It's not fun. Let's see. We got Dorothy. Hey, everyone in Northern New Jersey. Hey, Dorothy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dorothy.
Is that our New Jersey folks? And Mr. Guzman says, Dorothy, I'm in North New Jersey too. So there you go. Hey, made a friend. So we're making the connection game here. All right. And gulp. Yep. Let me see. Hi. What's this one says? Okay. I'm making cookies.
What kind? We got to know what kind of cookies.
What cookies are we making here? So here we go. New Jersey is starting soft. Interesting, because we have both Joe and I have a realtor friend that we've been on her live stream in New Jersey, and she's saying it's still pretty hot, Dorothy, that they're getting multiple offers on homes and things are selling real quick, and they're not sitting like what we're dealing with here in the Florida market. So, but that's good for the buyers, I guess. Maybe things calm down a little bit. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it's just weird. I know for me, Joe, in my market, there's just a lot of inventory, especially for the condos. The only thing that is hard is with so much inventory, you still have a lot of the people who bought the homes, had the low interest rates and remodeled them, and they're not selling them because they have a home with a low interest rate. So the really choice homes, I would call them, the ones that are really nice, they're not necessarily hitting the market. There's some good homes out there, but there's a lot of homes that are just like, and it needs work. And then you got buyers like, well, no, I'm already paying 7%. And then I got to do this to it. So, but then again, that's where the negotiating comes in, and where you say, well, hey, I want a credit for this, or I want go into the bid on the house and come in under asking price and ask for closing cost up front. Say, hey, I want 1.5% closing costs back. So I can use that to either work on my, buy down a rate or use it for repairs or whatever, because I'm going to have to totally remodel this house.
You know what, Paul, you're exactly right about that. And I feel like, and I was just having this conversation with a colleague, and I don't know, our markets are so vastly different. I don't know if this would resonate in your market or not, but I feel like in my market here in Southern California, this was confirmed by a buyer, I feel like people are not in the mindset of just making an offer. And, I feel like pre-COVID, I would take clients out, we'd look at homes, and they would go, oh, it's a nice home. I could see myself here. It's not my favorite home I've ever seen, but it's good. It's priced well. It's okay. Hey, let's just make an offer. Let's see if we can get it for 20 or 30K less. And then if I can, then maybe I'll buy it. Okay, sure. Let's make an offer. I feel like now, ever since COVID, buyers are just like, oh, the asking price is $800,000. I could probably afford it, but I'm probably just going to get outbid, or I'm going to lose it to a cash buyer, and I'm just not even going to try. And I feel like for a lot of people, a lot of buyers are in that mode where they're like, I'm just not even going to try to make an offer.
Buyer burnout. Yeah,
exactly. And I want to tell buyers out there, don't be afraid to just make the offer. Just make the offer, because a seller of a condo that's maybe been on the market for 20, 30, 40, 50 days, hey, maybe they'll entertain it, get the ball rolling, start the negotiation process, and heck, maybe you'll end up getting something for a decent deal.
Yep. We're getting a couple of those offers on some of my properties, and it didn't go anywhere, but they made the offer and the seller wasn't willing to accept on this particular one. But we've had some other ones and they did. And then my buyers made an offer and we got it for under asking, and it worked out pretty well, like pretty good savings on that. Like I think we saved them $50,000 on one property. So
pretty good.
So, I preached that in one of my videos. I told people that I said, listen, it's a buyer's market right now. You can come in and, the worst they can say is no, right? The worst they say is no. So, okay, so it doesn't. But what if they say yes? Or what if they go, well, we won't do that, but I'll give you this. And you're like, shit, that's better than I thought I was going to get.
Yep.
And then you get a good deal. And then, I know the rates are what they are. I hate when people say you can always refinance. I mean, you can refinance if the rates drop. I would never say that to people like, oh, you can always refinance, because
No,
I think too many people threw that around.
they
And yeah,
did.
you can refinance if the mortgage rates go low enough to refinance,
Yep.
but if they don't, you can't refinance. So then
Yep.
you're stuck. And so I'm always very honest about that with people. And it's like, yeah, you can refinance if you get a better interest rate at some point, but
Yeah.
don't right now, don't bet on it, because the
Nope.
track isn't there to show us that the rates are doing a whole lot
Yep.
better. So, but yeah, if you want to make an offer, so is it a good deal for regular folk in Florida? Well, it depends. Hello, where you're looking. I mean, some parts of Florida will look like, I'm in Palm Beach County, and right now, if you look at it, there's a ton of homes for sale versus buyers. So yeah, I think you have a strong chance right now from the numbers that if you went in, there's very few buyers and a ton of homes that if you pitch that seller with an offer, there's a good chance that they're going to accept it, or at least counter back with something that you can accept and is a better deal. And what I tell people is, they're like, well, we're just gonna keep waiting, it's going to drop. And yeah, it could keep dropping, but you got the ones that want to time the market. And I'm like, I say, well, what happens when it really drops? Do you think you're the only person watching the market that's waiting for that?
Great point.
Try adding about 4 million people to that number, because they're all waiting for that. And what's going to happen when they all start buying? If I'm Joe, hey, Joe, you're selling my house. Hey, Joe, did we really have 40 people come through my open house? Really? Wow. Hey, I need you to change the price. I want to add $20,000 to it.
Exactly. And what people don't realize with the whole, I'm waiting for housing prices, this works both ways. I'm waiting for housing prices to go down, or I'm waiting for interest rates to significantly go down. I want that 5.5% rate. Okay. You keep in mind that in either of those scenarios, let's take house prices, for example, because that's what we're talking about. Let's say housing prices go down. You say, I'm going to wait. I'm going to save my money. This is my favorite millennial saying. I'm going to stack up my money for my down payment while I continue to rent. Okay, good luck with that. But if prices go down, yeah, that might benefit you if you're waiting in the wings with a pile of cash. But that also benefits institutional investors and Wall Street, because they're going to be the ones that walk in with bags of cash and outbid everyone if there is a significant downturn in real estate pricing. So, it's a double-edged sword. If house prices crash or go down significantly, yes, does that potentially give the mom and pop consumer a chance? It does, but it also opens a ton of opportunity to a ton of corporations and investment groups that I guarantee you have larger, deeper, bigger pockets than you do. Yeah. And then there's another problem.
Ask anyone watching right now, how many times did you guys lose out on a bid to a cash buyer? And it was like someone, whether it was an investor or just someone with deep pockets, they had cash. Because I know here in South Florida, we have a lot of people who come down from up north where they sell a property up there, which a house up there, say they sell it for 1.2 million, and they walk down here in the house of 600, and they're like going, they're here, let me open my wallet. Do you accept dollar bills? I'm serious. It was like that. It was that easy for them. Yeah. I'll outbid you by, I'll put an extra 10,000 on it. I'm still coming out ahead.
I'll tell you right now, Paul, I live in California, and I live in just outside of Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles County. So I have an LA priced home. Right. And I'll tell you what, if I were going to move out of state, I could pretty much go anywhere that's not a major metropolitan area, and I could just go buy a house cash. And I probably would. Yeah. I would. Yeah. I would take my proceeds. I'd go trundle down, and I would put 50% down, 80% down, maybe even 100% down, just buy the whole thing outright. And it's a common thing. So there are people, and now I'm not looking to do that. So don't get mad at me, all you Florida buyers. I'm not taking your homes. I promise. I'm happy right here in my sunny weather. But that's the point, is that, if you think I'm going to be the one that gets the deal, I'm going to be the one that benefits from the real estate crash, I'm going to be the one that times this perfectly, chances are you're going to spend more money and waste more time waiting for that to happen than if you just took the leap. Yeah.
Yeah. No, listen, I said in the video, I said, look, some people are good at it. Majority of people aren't. There's some that are very talented and they have the money and they do it, and they're professionals at it. And those are usually the investors or just a savvy buyer. But the majority of us aren't, and you miss out, and then you end up doing just like everyone going, God, I wish I would have bought. I was doing a video of this neighborhood, and I saw this house, and I remember, man, that's a cool house. I remember I looked at it years ago, and it was like 295,000. think it's $295,000 or something at that time. They're selling it. It's like listed at 1.1 million. And it wasn't that long ago. It was 2019 when it was at 290. And it's because it's in the neighborhoods that's just super hot now. And it has to do with a lot of companies moving here. So the cookies, let's not ignore our comments. Thank you, folks. Thank you, guys. I love that you leave in comments. So hello, she's doing sugared thumbprint, some with preserves.
Ooh, yum.
Okay, or hello, I'm not sure. Let's see. We've got someone in your neck of the woods. What about property insurance in Florida? We're planning our move from California, and we were hit with a big increase in fire insurance here. Well, oof. Insurance in Florida has got its challenges. So depending on where you live, again, county, proximity to the water and the ocean and all that stuff. If you're inland or further out west, of course, if it's got a new roof, if it's got impact windows and stuff, all that can make a big difference on your insurance. I know when you're looking at a house, when they do what's called a wind mitt, which is when they look at the life of the roof on the house has to have at least 5 years, so you won't get insurance on it. So, and there goes my dog. My dog agrees. She's not happy with it. Sorry, guys. She's barking at the neighbor or someone. So, but insurance is getting a little bit better. There's more people going away from Citizens, which is the state pool, and getting insurance from other providers. So, I hope that's a good sign that there's a little bit more competition out there, and they're not just having to go to the state pools that was, everyone goes to. It's like, well, last, resort, right? The last insurance resort going to Citizens. But yeah, it's definitely something you want to look at, Frank. And I'm happy to talk to you about it. If my information is on this website, if you go down in the about section, the little section that nobody reads, but it has all of this great information and all that. If you go there, all my contact information. Plus, I'll scroll across the screen with my info. So, and let's see, we got good question, Frank. Okay, yeah, good question. And hello, Stephen. All right, hello. How is the foreclosure and short sale markets? Man, I started doing short sales. One of my first listings was a short sale back in 2013. Haven't seen them. I haven't seen any. There's a few foreclosures. We're seeing some foreclosures, and I think you'll see some foreclosures in the condo section when people just can't sell these condos and they got these huge assessments. I got a feeling there's some people, unless they get the buyouts, like I just did a video about, the developers coming and buy them out, but they're not buying everyone out, right? So I think there'll be some foreclosures. I haven't seen too many foreclosures on the single family house side yet. I honestly haven't really looked much at it. It's not something that I've dealt with a lot, but I can look into that. But it's not been in the news. It hasn't been a big story or anything like that. And certainly not too many short sales. And I think that's because, as Joe and I have been saying, a lot of these homes, people here have equity. They have all this equity in these properties. So they're not dealing with the 2005 situation where they have no equity in their house and they're underwater. They could be financially strapped, but they could still sell the house, maybe not get as much as they want, but still get out of that pay off that debt, pay off that loan, and whatever it is, and walk away and either break even or maybe walk out with a little money. So it just depends where they're at. I talked about that a while back, and there's been like very few foreclosures. And I guess, maybe the situation is just so bad that they couldn't do anything and the house just was in bad shape. I don't know. But we haven't really seen them. Well, thank you very much. That's why I like having guests on like Joe and my friends, because they're all like me. We're all just trying to share some information with y'all folks and to keep you entertained a little bit, because, it's a little bit entertainment and info. And this is some fun stuff to do. Let's see. Is an insurance bond a good idea? I don't know, Joe. I'm not an insurance expert, so
yeah, I'm not exactly sure what an insurance bond is, but we have the power of Google.
You want to Google that, and I'll look at a few more comments. Frank, you're welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and thank you for being here.
Okay, I see.
What would you think would be a better solution, the condo situation, than to pass a law causing all the people to be forced out of their homes? There has to be a better way. Brian's one of my followers, been for a while. Hey, Brian, how you doing, buddy? What do you think would have been a better solution to the condo situation than to pass the law causing all these people to be forced out? Well, not all of them have been forced out. Not as many as we think. Some have, and a lot of them. I just saw a story I did, Brian, on the people who made $700,000, and some held out for $1 million for that old condo building in West Palm. I mean, the young guy and his girlfriend moved out. She goes, I'm going to be sad I'm not by the water. And this place was like right on the water. It's literally right across from Mar-a-Lago. So they're looking at Trump's house and all of Palm Beach, and now an 18-story condo is going up. But they walked away. They got $700,000, and I think the guy's kid, maybe his dad owned 3 of them in there. So they made off well. Now where they're going to go, I don't know, because they're not going to be able to buy for $700,000 with that view. Not on that street anymore. I don't know. I mean, they changed the law. Was kind of a jerk reaction, I guess, from the state and DeSantis to, they didn't want any more buildings collapsing. We didn't want any more headlines of Florida has 91, 100, 200 people die in condo, because that was tragic when it did. So they were looking at ways to tell these condos, hey, you can't do what you're doing. You can't turn your nose up on these repairs and just a blind eye. You have to address them. And so it needed to be done, because for years, the people in these associations could literally say, no, we don't want to pay. We don't want to have a fee and everyone be assessed for this. So, and then things just got worse and worse. And when we saw what happened down there in Miami, and we've seen it in a lot of other buildings since then that I've been covering this whole time, these buildings need to be repaired. And you can't buy in a condo and think, okay, I'm going to pay my mortgage and I'm going to pay for a little HOA fee, but I'm never going to pay for anything else again. You can't live in a house without repairs. You can't live in a condo building without repairs, except that now you're in a condo, it's shared with everybody. So I think, there's probably could have gone a little bit better way about it, which they did. The new House Bill 981 or 931 is allowing the condos now 2 years from when they get another year before they have to do their structural integrity reserve study, because those are supposed to be done at the end of the year by December 31st. Just like last year, the milestone inspections had to be done. But now they're giving them 2 years to like get the money together. Like they're allowing them some ways to create and get the money and find a way to save and put the money from the residents to save, so then they can put the money towards the repairs. But the repairs have to be made. I mean, you can't live in an 18, 20, 30-story building, 3-story building with a foundation that's not structurally safe, because we saw the results of that. And it's gonna keep changing. I'm sure it'll change again for some of the people. I know they're trying to work with it, but it's sad because there are people, like I said, that I covered stories that had assessments of, like, the one guy had a $224,000 assessment just for his condo alone. And yes, his condo was probably worth $1.5 million in that area down in Williams Island, but still, even if it's worth that, being hit blindsided with having to come up with 245, and he was 78, and he goes, what am I going to do? And he goes, I'm going to be, he literally said, I'll be homeless. I can't afford it. I don't have, and people said, well, sell the condo. There was a comment was sell the condo. Well, in Florida, a lot of condos, and it's different for everyone, right? And I'm not a lawyer, but a lot of condos that I've seen, they have a thing called due on sale clause. What that means is that you have to pay all your assessments and any fines that you got from that association before you get a clear title to pass title to someone else. So before you can even do it, they're going to look at it and say, well, you got to pay this assessment. And this happened to me with the buyer, luckily, or a seller. Luckily, the assessment was only $1,300, but she had to, we had to work it out and get it done. So anyway, sorry, I didn't want to start going so long on that, Brian, but that's a hot topic here with Florida and the condo situation. What else we got here? Who do we got? If someone foreclosed, how long before they can buy again? I don't know. Is it foreclosure like bankruptcy? Is it?
I believe it is. I believe
3 or 5 years, or I forgot what it was.
I believe after 2008 they bumped it up to 7.
Is it? I love this. There you go.
Let's see. The Google machine. Okay. So it's depending on the type of loan, but generally it ranges from 2 to 7 years. Yeah. So I would say that it's probably on the longer side of that, because I don't know who's going to let you foreclose and then like 2 years later give you another mortgage. That would be a pretty risk. And even if you could get a mortgage 2 years after foreclosure, your interest rate is going to be like 87%. Yeah. Approximately.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's see. We've got, this is going well. So, and I know you got to leave here in a little while.
I do, unfortunately. And I'm
how long do I have you?
Because I'm having so much fun. I got about another 4 minutes or so.
Gotcha. All right. So we're going to go to this one. We will just do a quick one on this for our renter folks. Let me go back to present, share.
And then we'll do this again when I can give you a full time, and we can do the whole thing.
So not everybody's ready to buy. And I'll say that. I'm sure Joe says it. Look, if you're not ready to buy, you're not ready to buy. No one's telling you, like, we would never tell you to buy when you're not financially ready or whatever. So if you're not and you're sitting there on the sidelines waiting, then you do what you have to do. Hopefully this helps you a little. New apartments are sitting vacant for months, giving renters power to negotiate concessions, which is like almost unheard of on rentals.
Yeah.
So it says that 49% of newly built apartments completed in the fourth quarter of 2024 were rented within 3 months, the fifth consecutive quarter with an absorption rate below 50%. New apartments are being completed at near record levels, with the increase in supply keeping rents down and providing renters with more opportunities to negotiate concessions. 3+ bedroom apartments are renting out slightly faster than other bedroom types, which is normal because of family size. Less than half of newly built apartments completed in the fourth quarter of 2024 were rented within 3 months, up slightly from 47% the previous year. It was the fifth consecutive quarter that rental absorption rate was below 50%, a speed that continues to lag behind pre-pandemic norms. So, look, if you're looking to rent out there, folks, and you need to rent, this is a good sign that hopefully renters now, the people who are really seem to be the most financially strapped, right, will get a break on some rents. I haven't seen a whole lot of that softening in South Florida. In some places we have, but some places single family homes still can hold a premium, especially if they're like in a school district that they really want or desirable and stuff like that. But there are more rentals available, and we have seen, especially in condos, man, you've seen prices drop really big time in that area. So do you do much with rentals out in California?
Yeah, I do. And what I've seen in the rental market is that just like the for sale market, if you have a single family home that is priced reasonably and it's in a nice neighborhood, doesn't even need to be super upgraded or super updated, it's going to rent very, very quickly. The biggest thing now with rents is similar to home prices. The rise in rents have cooled off. We're not seeing rents go down, but what we are seeing is we're seeing rents become much, much more stabilized, and they're not going up like they were almost what seemed like every month rents were going up. And so we're not seeing that anymore, which again is a good thing for the market in general. Stability is good for buyers, for sellers, for owners, for landlords, for tenants. Stability is what the market needs, especially right now.
So I'm reading this. What is this? This one, Joe? Yeah, it's definitely good to see. I've noticed a big increase in. Well, I can tell you right now, I have a couple units for rent but they're 55 and older, and man, they're just not getting. They're not getting that. They're not getting that many calls. They're just. It's also has a high credit. One of the difficult parts for this community, though, is they have to have a high credit score. So the rents are low, right? But then unfortunately, they're not 55 and older, or their credit's not, which is kind of that double-edged sword, right? They're trying to save up and get credit and do all that, but then you try to rent. It's like, well, you need a 680 credit score, and they can't get it. So, so Samuel, hey Samuel, thanks for coming on. Hi guys, thank you for this. Can you provide a game plan for a new multifamily investor to play the current market? I am South Florida, so market recs are appreciated. Market. I'm not sure what he means by market recs.
Possibly maybe areas in South Florida that might be a more ripe opportunity for like someone that wants to buy a 4-unit or something. I would assume that's what he means by multifam. Is I'm assuming he's looking at maybe trying to buy a triplex, quadplex, or 6-unit.
Gotcha.
And maybe he's thinking about something in South Florida.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know. It's funny, Sam. I looked at 2 places today, and I still thought they were really high. Like I know one was because they're doing for sale by owner, and they don't want to, and that's probably why no realtors are taking it. Because I looked at that and looked at the history of it, and then went back, and the number they were asking was like bonkers high for this one. So I think they're betting on it because it's in Delray, and they think it's, the Delray market's hot, but it's been sitting there for a while. So I haven't done a lot with multifam, but I do have, if you're interested, reach out to me. We do have a team in our office, and one of my buddies in there does a lot with that type of stuff. We can certainly talk to you about it and see what's going on. So I appreciate it. Cookies done. Thanks, guys. I enjoyed. All right. Thanks. Hello.
Enjoy the cookies.
Bring some cookies next time. I love cookies. So Yes, that's what he was saying. Yeah, Sam, you can reach it. My contact information is down below. Reach out to me if you want. Let me put my contact up here. If you just want to reach out, shoot me an email, and I can try to talk to you and find a little bit more. Looking forward to certainly do a little research for you. But all right, it's 7:19. I know you have to go. So you said 7:20. So I'm going to be a good host here and get you off the air right here.
Thank you.
Listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. You guys stick around with you. Don't hang up, or the rest of y'all don't drop off, because I got some more stories we'll share with you here just for the next 10 minutes. But he has to go because he's got to make money. He's got a client.
Yeah, I got to go talk to a client. Paul, thank you so much. This was excellent. Your chat and your community has been awesome.
Yeah,
and can't wait to come on back and spend some more time with you guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me know, and I'm happy to come on and be a guest with you when we get
awesome.
out there.
Sounds good, Paul.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So that was awesome for Joe to come on. And FHA allows financing 3 years after foreclosures. Okay, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Yeah, those are things that I talked to my money person, asked them. They usually have those answers for that. So, but that is, I guess that's true. Yeah, after 3 years on FHA, I think I've seen that. So that's great. All right, so we got about 10 minutes left. And first of all, I appreciate you guys sticking around for all this. Thank you so much. And by the way, some of you, I don't know if some of you saw the post on the YouTube channel. They have what's called a community page where you can post things. So it's another way for me to communicate with you guys. And I'm making a video that's going to be out this Sunday. I'm doing another city tour. So those of you who watch my videos, I do videos for those that are new here. I make videos where I go to a different city here in South Florida, and I'll talk about the history and how the city became and got its name. We'll look at some historical spots in the city, which is kind of cool, as I like history. And then we'll show you some local restaurants and things to do and stuff. So, if you're looking at moving to Florida, it might be a city for you. Maybe you just want to visit. You're looking for a different place to hit South Florida besides Fort Lauderdale and Miami. It might be a cool place to go check out. One place up there I'm really excited to go to. One is this place is the actual Navy SEALs Museum. It's the first one. Now, I know they're building another one in San Diego, but it's super cool. So it's all about honoring the Navy SEALs, and so it's pretty cool. But I did a poll, and I asked you guys, because I'm going to go to this restaurant, what I should get to eat at that restaurant. I gave you two options, right? There was a sandwich and a fish sandwich, and so just to give you guys an update, so they have a smoking jack chicken sandwich or a potato chip crusted mahi. So right now the mahi's killing it. It looks like I'm right now, but we'll see. So we'll see how the voting ends, and then when I shoot the video. But I appreciate you guys voting on that. That's pretty fun. So and I'll try and incorporate that a little bit more into some of my videos, where I can ask you guys vote for this or that, and then I'll incorporate that into the video. So let's see. Nothing like doing two FHA, find the loopholes. Yeah, right. And then Brian, of course. So there's Brian, go fishing again. Yeah, I do need to do another fishing video sometime. Show you guys fishing. We'll get out there. I'll do some more. And loopholes. People always find loopholes, right? All right. So let me talk about the last one. So you guys know that we are June 1st is hurricane season here in South Florida. Yay, boo. No one likes it, but yeah, hurricane season runs from June 1st through November 30th. And again, they're predicting a busy hurricane season for us. I'm praying that it's not. I'm hoping that it's nice and calm everywhere in the United States. But in the event that it does happen, and you guys are living down here, you have relatives that are living down here, you need to be prepared and have everything ready for that. So I thought I would just share this with you, some of the things that you might need in the event that a storm comes your way. So hurricane kits, and this is a neat little, you guys can get this at stateofflorida.com. You can just go Google it and you find all sorts of stuff, the Central Hurricane Guide, and what is a hurricane storm watch, and when is it hurricane warning, and all that. So it tells you all those things, but what's important, and a lot of people miss out on, is being prepared. And this is a good list because it talks about what you need. So it says non-perishable food enough to last for 3 days, because there's a good chance if it's a bad enough storm, you guys have seen what happened on the West Coast and places like Katrina and even Andrew back in 92, which is when I first moved to Florida. That was my welcoming party. You got to be prepared. And we've been through a couple hurricanes, and fortunately we haven't had any real damage. to any of our places, but we were without power for 2 weeks, and in the heat, that's just miserable. So you need enough water and enough to last for 3 days, and you need to make sure you have enough for each person. So I think it's a gallon a person per day. So you need to make sure you get plenty of water, and don't wait till the last minute, because people do that and then they go to the store and it's a nightmare, and traffic and car accidents, and they run out of supplies. And it's gotten better than it was in the earlier days in the early 2000s, but still, it's just better to get the stuff and be prepared. Have your first aid kit, any prescriptions, right? Get your medicines, because if it's a big enough storm, the power's out, pharmacies aren't going to be working, ATMs won't be working. Although again, they've done a lot with generators in the past 20 years, so it has gotten better. But I was going all the way from West Palm Beach to Pompano Beach just to get ice, because there was none in West Palm Beach at that one time when we had a storm back in 2004. Battery operated radio, cells are going to go out. It doesn't even have to be that strong of the hurricane. It can be the first part of the storm, and you will lose power in certain areas, and you'll lose cell towers and you lose cell signal. So you need a battery operated radio to keep yourself, tuned what's going on, or one of those little hand crank ones, which is probably what I need to order this year. It's kind of cool little charger, waterproof container for cached important documents, just, good stuff, lighters, matches, books, all the little things that you think you need. Secure your home, get your house ready. If you have, I have 5 palm trees in my property, and I'm getting them trimmed so they can get trimmed so they're ready for hurricane season. Fortunately, I don't have any coconuts on them, thank God, because those are a nightmare and they become missiles. And they do. That's what people don't realize. It's all the little things that you leave in the backyard that when the wind picks up and it's 50, 60 miles an hour, it goes flying. And God forbid it's like 100 mile an hour, the wind, it picks something up, it'll go hit the person's house or their car. And you don't want your neighbor going, oh, great, thanks. Your welcome to paradise sign came flying through and went through my car window. Appreciate that. So you want to have these things done early right now, and trying to get the yards trimmed and getting the loose stuff that's out there on a weekend, get it put away. But one of the things I think people also need to remember, like with the hurricanes, it's important is like, you see my dogs all the time. We're huge pet, people here. We love our dogs. Is, you got to make sure you have your pet foods and make sure your dogs are like, feel safe. And same with kids, man. Kids, it sucks when the hurricanes come, because like it gets dark. They always hit at night. They always seem to hit right in the middle of the night, the worst time, never in the daytime. And it's pitch black and the wind's just howling for hours. And you want the kids to have stuff to keep their, and there's no power, right? So you got to keep them occupied. So think about those things. Think about your pets. Think about your own safety. Make sure your house is secure to the best it can be. Obviously, if you have to stay at a shelter, bombing, that's a call that you have to make for yourself. I know my wife and I discussed at what point do we leave. If it's a certain size storm, do we stay here? Do we go somewhere else? And but just, it's part of living in South Florida. Make sure your insurance papers, check your insurance papers. If you guys live in Florida, make sure if your family lives there, if you have elderly, if some of you guys watching me have parents that are down here and they're older, help them out. Make sure that their papers and all their insurance is in order and that they've got everything in a safe place. And, make sure they're good. Make sure you got some neighbors that can help out with them and stuff, because they want to make sure that you have everything set up, and talk to your insurance company and make sure everything's lined up with all that, because it doesn't do any good after the storm passes, right? So that's too late. So let me see. We got a couple comments here. So I says, I stay ready. Yes, you got to stay ready in South Florida. You have to. It's important. I mean, we got a box with some stuff, but my wife and I always add a little bit more to it each summer. And I know we're going to probably things we got to add. She will tell you this is the most important: battery operated fans. If you find them, buy them. Get yourself some battery operated fans. They will just a little bit of breeze when there's no AC and it's 120% humidity outside and you're sitting in a AC. And most homes, guys, like mine, they weren't designed for no AC. They don't have that natural airflow that the older homes, which you'll see in my videos. I love those old homes for a reason, because they're cool all the time, because they were built before there was AC here. So this house is a box, no AC. We're going to die in here. So you have the little fan will save you a whole lot. So let's see. We got some couple more comments. Just JP Morgan expects home prices to rise by 3% 2025. Please say yes. Rates to ease by 6.7 by the year end. Just read this. Yeah, it's hard. There, none of us. I mean, I'm just going off news stories and facts and what I see, some stuff, but none of us can actually really predict what's going to happen. I mean, no one saw 2020 coming, right? None of us did. That was just crazy. So Please, please, please. Let's see. What do we got? Amazon has a lot of good kits ready to go, easy to order for your prep food, water, also wind up radio, which I just got. Yeah, those are all good. And also hope your HOA is fully funded and wear your seatbelts. Yeah, get your gas, do the things, do the things that you need to do. Florida sounds nice. Northern. Yeah, Florida is nice. Listen, it's been, hurricanes have been here since the dawn of time from Florida. So it's just, we know they're here. I know they're here. I know I moved here, and it's just a part of what you deal with. And just like people who live in Kansas and the Midwest, God bless them, there's been horrible tornadoes. But does everybody move from there? No. It's just people deal with snowstorms up in the Northeast. It is what it is. It's nature, so it's going to happen. You can hide from it or choose to live and deal with it. And outside of, you guys know, outside of hurricane season, I love winter. It's paradise here during the wintertime. So it's only in the summer that it's not as fun. So, by the way, I will be on my bike again for this video. I'm not walking anymore. It's just too hot to do the walking videos. But so yeah, be safe. Get your stuff ready for hurricane season. Keep watching the videos. If you have real estate questions, reach out to me, guys. Even if you're not ready, I'm happy to talk to any one of you and answer any questions you have about real estate, whether it's now or 3 years from now. I've done it. I've been doing it for 13 years. Lots of people that I talk to, and it took years. I have some YouTube clients that talked to me for 2 years, and then they came down, and now they live here, and I go fishing with them. So great folks. So I'm happy to help you. I'm not expecting you to buy right this minute. But when you are ready, I would love the opportunity to help you buy or sell. So I appreciate it. There's an hour and 1 minute, and we had a good group on today. We had our high number was 22 viewers, so thank you. That's down from last week, but that's okay. We continue to grow, and we continue to do this to keep you guys informed about what's going on here in South Florida. So I do appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate all the support on the channels, and subscribing and liking and sharing all that great stuff. And hope you guys will continue to watch. So with that, everyone, hope you have a great evening. And I will see you either this Sunday at 10 a.m., showing you a really cool town with some cool history, or we'll be right back here next Wednesday at 6:30, and we'll talk about what the real estate world has to offer us here in Florida and around. So, all right, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening with your family, and everyone enjoy those cookies. Hello. Thanks for coming on, and all my regulars. Thank you, guys. And, we got one more of that. And what does it says? Bro, prices are too high, 80% too high, too high, 80% crash if price is necessary. Well, that's great, but we haven't seen it, and people have been saying that. So maybe it'll happen. I don't know. We've had the doomsday predictions from every YouTuber on the planet, but we haven't seen them drop 80% yet. So maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and enjoy paradise.